Hello there, welcome to another video in our 12 Days of Christmas video series. Today I wanted to take a final check-in and look at where I ended up with all of my reading challenges that I decided to participate in this year. There were 8 yearly challenges, and then there were 2 that are kind of yearly challenges, but they're separated into months. I'll go over that when we hit there. But okay, so first challenge was the 2022 reading challenge that I did with my 2 book besties. We are part of a book club together called the Cool Book Bitches. And so we just each created some prompts, and yeah, and then we had to read a book for that prompt. I think one prompt had 2 books. But I got all the way through, and I was 100% completed. So, very excited about that. As far as if I had any favorites, I did have 2 5-star books, which is always exciting. I had Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which was a romance 5-star. Black Tide by Casey Jones, which was a kind of creature horror book. Both of those were favorites of the entire reading challenge. Both 5 stars, fantastic. I would recommend them to anybody. And then I'll say I have 2 runner-ups for books that were 4.5 stars, so very close to 5. And those 2 books were Last Days by Adam Neville, which is a kind of documentary cult style book, horror. This is the author that wrote The Ritual, which is a popular movie on Netflix. And the second 4.5 star runner-up book that I had for this challenge was The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. This is the second book following The Gilded Ones, which I read last year and absolutely loved. The Gilded Ones was 5 stars. Merciless Ones was 4.5 stars. Alright, next is the Buzzword Reading Challenge, which is to read 1 book a month with a buzzword in the title. I completed this 100%. I read all 12 books that I was supposed to read. Woohoo! I had 1 5-star come out of this, and that was a memoir. Finding Me by Viola Davis. Fantastic memoir. I don't typically read nonfiction, and I don't typically read memoirs, so that was an amazing book, and I would recommend it to anybody. And there were actually no 4.5 stars, so yeah. Next is the 52 Book Club, which is to read 52 books in a year. This is hosted by the 52 Book Club. I found them on Goodreads, so you can check them out. They already have their 2023 list up, which I will not be participating in, but in 2022, I finished all 52 books. Woohoo! So I was 100% complete, and I had actually 3 5-star books come out of this. The first one is Ring Shout by Pete Jelly Clark, which is a kind of monstery horror book with the KKK. Very, very well done. I love the writing style, love the characters, and of course loved me the monstery showdown. The next one is The Last Astronaut by David Wellington. This is a first contact sci-fi horror. Really, really good. I loved the outer space theme, loved the first contact, and the plot and how everything played out. It was very, very well done. And then the last 5-star is Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is a reread for me, but it is always a book that is near and dear to my heart. So, no surprise with that one. There was one 4.5 star, which actually I talked about for the other challenge, but I counted it twice here. And that was The Merciless Ones by Namita Forna, which is my 4.5. Yeah, so that's it for the 52 Book Club. Alright, next challenge is the Books in the Freezer challenge, which is hosted by Steph from the Books in the Freezer podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to horror books. And I read all of the ones I needed to read and finished at 100%. Woohoo! So, some 5-star books that came out of here was The Last Astronaut by David Wellington. This was for the prompt where you read a hybrid horror and something else. So, obviously, I read this for sci-fi horror. Another 5-star is Rain Shouts by P.J. Jelly Clark, which I already talked about. And my other 5-star was Black Tide by Casey Jones. And this satisfied the prompt. I think it was for like a non-human monster. So, this is very Lovecraftian if you're interested in kind of that cosmic horror. This is also kind of a survival, like the entire book is pretty much set in the stars. So, yeah, really good. Alright, next challenge is the Book of the Month challenge, and these have more badges to complete, but let's talk about the 5 stars. Yeah, I actually didn't have any 5 stars for Book of the Month, and I didn't have any 4.5 stars. Wow, that's shocking. Okay, so I did have some 4 stars that I'm gonna say are runner-up because I still think about these books. So I completed the Book of the Month challenge, and then there was a bonus badge, which was to read an additional 12 books. So let's talk about some of the 4 stars that I had. Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby is about a son that gets basically brutally killed, and it's these 2 fathers that team up to uncover what happened to their gay sons. Fantastic book. And I've got The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. This is a crime horror novel. It is about a drug run with these 2 men, and they go into Mexico to try to make some money, and yeah, some shit goes down. And then we've got You're Invited by Amanda J. Atissa, which is a wedding-focused book. This woman goes to try to stop this wedding, and the bride ends up disappearing, and so of course she is kind of caught in the crosshairs and is seen as the main suspect. It's a good mystery thriller. I really enjoyed learning all of the culture stuff, so yeah, very good. This is Alice Feeney, Daisy Darker. This is a locked room mystery set at a grandmother's house. Everybody has gathered there to hear her will, and they all learn that none of them are getting any money from their rich grandmother. And then the grandmother dies, and then some people start dying one by one. So, very good. It is actually set on Halloween, so if any of you are looking for a good Locked Room mystery to read kind of in the spooky season, this is definitely a good one. And then next is The Hacienda by Isabel Conness. This is a ghost spirit book. This woman marries into this kind of cursed family and is experiencing some ghost activity, and so she goes to a local priest to help kind of perform an exorcism on the house, and some other stuff gets uncovered. Very, very good. And lastly, I have a Breathless by Amy McCulloch. This is a kind of stranded mystery novel set on top of a mountain. It is a mountaineering climbing expedition kind of gone wrong. They're kind of out stranded in the snow, and there's a killer on the loose. So, yeah. So, although I didn't have any 5 and 4.5 stars, some really good 4-star thrillers, and horror books. So, yeah. Alright, next is the 12 challenge, which is to read 12 books recommended by 12 friends. I finished this challenge. I read all 12 books, so I was at 100% completed. I had 2 5 stars come out of this. I had The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, which is a historical fiction ghost spirit book. Very well done. I loved it. And my second 5-star is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I know this is categorized as kind of a horror mystery thriller. I don't think it's either of those things. It's just a very well told story about grief and, waiting for your loved one to come home, and yeah, it was very good. I've read some other Julia Armfield before, but this is my favorite of hers, so. And I did have a 4.5 star, which was The Deep by River Solomon, and I read this on audio, which is a kind of mermaid telling of the slaves that were thrown overboard. Heartbreaking, beautiful, absolutely loved it. The narrator did a fantastic job. Alright, next is my horror challenge. I actually did not get through all of the books. I struggled to get in the mood to reading the last couple months of this year, so there were a couple that I didn't get to in November, and then I barely read any in December, so I did not get through all these for this year, but that's okay. 2023 is a new year, and I'm very intrigued with a lot of the categories, because now I'm getting into categories that I'm actually not used to reading in horror, so this will be interesting. But I did have some 5-star books come out of this. So we've got The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, which I read for the Ghost and Spirit category. And then my other 5-star was Rain Shout by P. Djeli Clark, which I read for the Supernatural category, subgenre, and horror. I did also have 2 4.5 star, and one of these was in the same category as a 5-star. So I got Within These Walls by Anya Alborn, which is a kind of culty book. This I read for the Ghost and Spirit category. And then my other 4.5 book is Coyote Rage by Owl Going Back, and I read this for the werewolf subgenre. So, very good. Alright, and then next is the last two are the monthly, yearly challenges. The first one is with my book club, the CBBs. In addition to our yearly challenge, we will come out with monthly challenges for a couple months out of the year. So we had 5 monthly challenges this year. I participated and completed all the books that needed to be read for each of those 5. So, I actually had quite a few 5 stars come out of these challenges, so let's go through them. First is The Night Shift by Alex Finlay, which is a kind of serial killer thriller. Very good. I read this in April for our challenge, which was books to read that start with the. Next is Someone Like Me by M.R. Carey. This is I don't know if I would even say a possession one, but it's a pretty trippy kind of possession book. But yeah, it's by the author that wrote The Girl with All the Gifts, which I actually did not care for, but I loved this book, so. I read this in May for our Mayflower challenge. And then next is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I talked about this one in one of the other challenges, 5 stars. This is one of my all-time favorite books. Absolutely love it. I try to read it every year, so I read it for our October bingo challenge. And then my last 5-star is Road of Bones by Christopher Golden, which is a kind of stranded, wintry novel, actually based on a real road. Fantastic book. The whole book is basically set in one night, but there's so much that happens that it's paced very well. It's very trippy. The descriptions of the winter, like you could feel it in your bones. Very, very good. This author is coming out with a new book in January, and I'm so excited. Okay, so that was also a read for the October bingo challenge. I did have a couple of 4.5 stars, so let's talk about those. The first one is Hide by Kirsten White. This actually didn't get very good reviews this year, but I really liked it. It is a horror set actually at an abandoned amusement park. It is for a game which is based on hide and seek. So yeah, I read this for the February challenge. I forget what prompt it was for though. And then the next 4.5 star is The Last Cuentista by Donna Barbara Higuera. This is kind of a science fiction-y book about a group of people traveling to a new planet, and some things that they were promised weren't actually as they seemed, and the girl carries her grandmother's storytelling with her and attempts to tell stories in the new world. So it was just a beautiful book, inside and outside. So and I read that for the April challenge, which was to read a book with that in the title. And my last 4.5 star is The Botanist by L.K. Hill, which is a serial killer thriller where a guy buries the bodies and uses them to fertilize his flowers. Again, it was awesome. I think this is a self-published book, which is really well done. I didn't notice any grammatical errors, which is unusual for self-published. So, and I read this for the October Bingo Challenge. Alright, and lastly is the Magical Readathon. This is hosted by G over at Book Roast. This is a entire world that she has built, and every so often throughout the year there are challenges that are set in this world. There were 5 this year. We had earlier in the year we had our Gear Up challenge, and then we had our classes at the Aurelium Academy. We had Spring Equinox, we had Autumn Equinox. And then there were some adventures that you could go on for some extra points towards your house or your guild. And then we ended the year with a little shopping adventure at the Old Favor Pass. So, very, very cool. I'm really looking forward to see what she has for 2023. This entire world is just absolutely fantastic. And I only had one 5-star book come out of this, and that was Confessions by Kanye Minato, which is actually one that I used as a reread, which I was still happy to reread it because it was a fantastic thriller. It's kind of about this teacher whose daughter gets murdered, and she knows who it is in the classroom, and so she kind of ends her teaching year basically saying, I know who it is, and you're going down, and the chaos ensues. So, very good. And I actually didn't have any 4.5 stars, but I had a lot of 4 stars. And some books that I certainly picked up thinking I would never get to this anytime soon, and I was kind of forced to read it for the readathon, which is why it's considered a challenge. So yeah, those are all my challenges. Oh, and I did complete 100% of that. So, not too bad. Out of all of the challenges that I read and participated in this year, only one, which is one that I created for myself, so not too bad. But yeah, so that's where I am for 2022. Were there any reading challenges that you did this year, yearly or monthly, that you participated in? How did you do? Is it something you're going to continue in 2023? Let me know down in the comments. I'm always interested to see what other challenges and readathons there are happening. So, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.